Hello everyone, my name is Madhavi Menon. I'm a professor of English at Ashoka University and the author most recently of Infinite Variety, A History of Desire in India. And in these days where we're all locked down and in this strange space, both psychically and physically, I actually revisited one of the chapters in this book and thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit about it today with all of you. Just very briefly, the chapter on psychoanalysis really thinks about that relationship between the psyche and the physical aspects of the body. It does this by starting out, or I start the chapter out, by thinking about a correspondence between someone called Girindra Shekhar Bose, who was the founder of the Indian Psychoanalytic Society, and Sigmund Freud, who was universally acknowledged as the founder of psychoanalysis worldwide. And Bose wrote a letter to Freud in 1929 where he sort of questioned mildly, because he was a big fan of Freud, he questioned mildly the universality of Freud's Oedipus complex. And many of you will remember that for Freud and for psychoanalysis, Oedipus complex is specifically the threat of castration that little boys aged between 3 and 5 have to undergo, where they are told that if they do not give up interest in the mother, then they will become a woman like the mother. And so the threat of castration is meant to make the boys so terrified that they sort of say, okay, we will give up interest in the mother because we do not want to become women. And Bose writes to Freud and says, you know, it's interesting. I have both European patients and Indian patients in Calcutta. And among my European patients, the threat of castration is very effective. But among my Indian patients, they seem less concerned with this idea of men turning into women. And so one of the things I found interesting is to think back for why this might be the case. And I think what Bose was drawing on was a sort of deep and rich history across the Indic subcontinent of painting, poetry, artistic traditions of various kinds, cultures, religions, in which the idea of men turning into women, far from being threatening, is actually presented as an attractive proposition. And a proposition that, far from reducing one's sexual prowess, actually increases it. And so I just want to look at a couple of examples of where and how this happens to then trace back the route that Bose must have taken in order to tell Freud, actually, Indian men do not fear castration quite as much as European men do. And in fact, Bose says at the bottom of his letter, he says, the desire to be a female is more easily unearthed in Indian male patients than in European, which is to say, Indian men, rather than fearing castration, actually seem to welcome it, or at least welcome the idea of being a woman. And one of the first things I want to talk about is this painting that you will see here, which is part of the 18th and 19th century Kangra oeuvre of paintings of Krishna, based on Jayadeva's 12th century series of poems on Krishna and Radha and the gopis called the Gita Govinda. And in all these poems and in many of these paintings, you will see Krishna's trump card is always to be cross-dressed with Radha, which is to say, Radha dresses as Krishna, Krishna dresses as Radha. They wear one another's costumes and sort of go about their love games as though nothing has happened. And in all these love games and the description of the love games, and again, many of you will know, Krishna and his alleged dalliance with 14,000 gopis at the same time filled the British, for instance, with horror at this kind of sexual licentiousness. But what's interesting about Krishna dressed as a woman is that this is not detracting from his sexual prowess. And so you have iconographically as well as artistically, poetically, continual representations of gods turning from male to female without any concomitant loss of sexual power or of masculine power in any sense of the word. So that's the first thing I want to think about. The second thing I want to think about, related to this, right? The sort of Jayadeva comes out of a certain bhakti tradition. And I want to also think about a Sufi tradition, which is closely allied with the bhakti tradition. And you have poets, lots of poets, and I'm just going to pick an example of two. The 13th century Amir Khosrow in relation to Nizamuddin Aulia, or the later 16th century Bulle Shah in relation to his Pir Shah Inayat. And they constantly write love poems, which are at one and the same time addressed to their love object on earth and to God. And they're constantly narrating themselves as women in relation to the men with whom they're in love. So Bulle Shah, for instance, has wonderful lines where he says, separation from you has made me mad and has labeled me crazy girl. And then he insists, talking to Inayat, Shah Inayat, you have raised your veil and made me wander like Zulekha in Egypt with the burqa on his head, Lord, Bulla has been made to dance by your love. And we have these constant ideas of men, male Sufi poets, dressed up as women, feeling ecstatic emotions like women in relation to their male love objects. And similarly, of course, I just want to end with Khusro's famous poem, which has been made into a ghazal, Chap Tilak Sab Chini Re Mose Naina Milaike, addressed to Nizamuddin, which is, you took away everything from me just with one glance from your wonderful eyes. And this kind of emasculation of one's desire is in fact seen as a desirable state by male figures across the Indian traditions. And so the sense of castration, of moving from male to female as being something that is problematic, is historically not true of the Indian subcontinent. What has happened in the last 100 years between 1929 and now is of course a different story and will require a different Sarmaya talk. Bye for now.